I was working on this yesterday and it just started making a clunking noise, just like that. If you look inside here, the piston doesn't even move up and down. So I'm kind of curious as to what's happened here. It started, somebody was asking to see how I've got my tools laid out. So here we go. I've got some wrenches here. I just basically took some wood, painted it, and wrote down all the sizes. These are the standard sizes, and the ones down here are all metric, and they're all numbered. And I just used finishing nails, actually some screws here, to hang them up on. All my sockets here, I just put finishing nails and wrote down the numbers. And on this wall here, it's full of sockets, deep and metric and standard sizes. You can buy these at a hardware store or automotive. They hold the sockets. And that's what I did all the way here. My screwdrivers, I just took some plywood, cut it to length, and then drilled some holes. For your chainsaw files, you can do the same thing. And this is where I keep all my fasteners, nuts and bolts, and I've got bolts in a big box put away. And I've got stuff in here that I keep tools in there as well. And here's another wall with some other wrenches. You want to make sure you've drained all the oil out of it, just so that when you have it apart, it's not leaking everywhere. I'm first going to start by removing the fuel lines and the fuel tank. To remove the fuel tank, you need to remove this bolt here. It's a Torx number 25. And it's the only bolt holding the fuel tank on. The reason why I'm removing the fuel tank is so that I can access the throttle cable to remove it. Now to pop the cable out of here, you need to pull on this little clip here. Just bring the cable up. And then just pop the cable off here by moving the lever and pulling up the cable, and it'll come out of its groove. Next, I'm going to remove the 4 Torx screws here, and they're a D25 as well. Now when you remove the last screw, it's going to separate itself. Just like that. Now make sure you don't lose that spring in here. This spring comes off, so make sure you don't lose that. Next, you'll need to remove the Torx screws here, there, under here, and there. There's 4. On top here of the engine. Now you need to remove the clutch here, and that's a T15 that you insert in here, Torx screwdriver. So I've noticed that when I've got a Torx screwdriver in here to remove the clutch, that the piston does indeed turn, which tells me that the flywheel keyway must have broke off. So I'm going to put a rope in the cylinder to lock up the engine and remove the clutch. Then you just pull and it'll come off. Now the clutch came off pretty easy here. Usually you would use a flat tool, like a screwdriver or something, and hammer it out to get it going with a rope in the cylinder. And there's a washer that came out. Now the whole thing should separate. And you can remove the switch from here. And here is the keyway broke off. The flywheel must have got loose at one point, and the other piece of the flywheel is on the crankshaft there. You can see just a little sliver of aluminum. There it is. Now the good news is that I had another engine like that I took apart here. It's all in pieces, and I'm going to use the flywheel from that one. Here it is, and it's got a good key in there. So I'm just going to put this back on. Now this part here goes back in there. The next thing you want to put on is the recoil housing. Insert the switch in it over here, and then just wiggle it down. You may have to pull the cord to lock it into its proper place. Now the 4 screws that go on the base of the motor here are the ones with the fine threads. The ones with the coarse threads go on the other cover here. The 2 screws with the coarse threads go up top here. Now, if your flywheel wasn't loose when you're taking this apart like mine was, what you would do is grab a piece of hardwood, put it on the tip of the shaft here, and then pound on the piece of hardwood while holding this up. It'll come off easier if you're holding it. And the flywheel should pop right out. Put the washer on first. And make sure that the part with the writing faces up. And just spin it like that. You can use a pair of pliers like this to tighten it up. You can also put a rope in the cylinder to lock it up and just tighten it up. It will tighten itself once it's running as well. Now to put the clutch drum back on, just simply insert it over, and with your torque screwdriver, just tighten it up. Now we'll mount it back on. Make sure that the spring is in this position here with the big end facing toward the engine. Now just simply join them together. Insert the part of the clutch here into the spring. Now install the 4 screws that go around here. Now you'll have to route your throttle cable back. Just run it in between the 2 legs here and up here. The next thing you want to do is hook in the cable into the connector on the carburetor over here, just by inserting it in like this. So here's a close-up view. I have another carburetor that's the same here, and I'm going to show you what it looks like so you have an idea. The more narrow side of the connector has to be pointing toward you, and the bigger side with a hole in it has to be pointing in the direction so the cable will go in like this. And make sure that this hose is on the outside of the cable, and just reach in and put it in like that. And now just clip the cable in by pushing down, and that's it. Now I'll put the fuel tank back on. This groove here goes into here. Now just connect your fuel lines. The line at the front, which is for the primer, goes on top here. And the other line here, which is the line with the filter in the tank, goes right above the primer right here. So that's all you have to do. And now when you pull it over, the whole engine's going to turn with it.